Hello, my friend. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a crisp fall morning here in Vermont. I have my cup of tea. I hope you have yours. And I thought we could continue our discussion about minimalism and mindful living. I did a video a couple weeks ago, which I was so happy to hear that so many of you liked and were able to gain some benefit from, to invite some of it into your own practice, to ask yourselves questions and find your own answers. In that video, I discussed how I began minimalism and some of the very simple steps I took when I first began. The concept of inviting and letting go, taking a step back from what is commonly known as hustle culture. And many of you are familiar with that term because you've heard it other places too. It's not something I made up. I hear it a lot. And some of you asked questions about, it's so hard to take a step back from that when so much of our world is so entirely saturated in this idea of hustling and getting the job done and becoming someone and accomplishing things. And so I felt compelled, compassionately pulled towards talking about this more in greater detail, this specific topic of what is hustle culture and how do we take a step back from it? How do we escape from its hold on our lives? Or is the question really, how do we let go of our hold on it? So I want to get this right because this is an important topic. I want to expound on what I said in that video so that I am clear with what I'm talking about here. So what is hustle culture? It's subjective, first of all. There's not really one definition for it, but based on what we see in the world, in westernized culture, on the internet, especially social media, things like that. It's this idea of accomplishing as much as we possibly can and being as productive as we possibly can so that we can achieve some form of success, so that we can become someone better than who we are today. I want to separate this idea from the concept of doing something, because there is, in my opinion, a big difference between accomplishment, the concepts we hold of accomplishment, and simply doing, acting. There's some really interesting verses in the Tao Te Ching. If you're familiar with that book, you might know what I'm talking about here, that have to do with doing without doing. And I love that concept because really who we are produces action without much effort, really. The idea of hustle and accomplishment and sort of living our lives revolving around accomplishment comes with its own implications. What we accomplish is usually what becomes part of our identity. That's what this culture encourages. As you do things, and this is even seen in resumes, right? A resume is a stack of accomplishments. I've worked here, I have this degree, I've done this, I've done that, I've been here. And so this is who I am. And this piece of paper goes with me to let you know who I am. This degree goes with me to let you know who I am. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be that. It could be achievement in sports, achievement in work, achievement in art. And all these things are completely neutral. There's nothing wrong with them in and of themselves. But when we begin to look at this idea of each one of these things becoming a building block for the foundation of who we are, the building of ourselves, the construction of our own identity, we begin to see that it's not based off of who we are already, who we were born as. It's based off of our actions and behaviors and what we decide to do. When we look at nature, when we look at animals in their natural habitats, when we look at trees and mountains, the ocean, the ecosystems of Earth, they simply are. They exist. But yet they are accomplishing every moment. They are fulfilling a purpose. And there is a purpose to their existence, right? They simply are. I had this thought a while back. It's one of those thoughts that keeps me awake at night. When you stand on the bank of a river and watch the water flowing over the rocks, what would you say that the river is doing? Most people that I ask this to, I would say the river is flowing. And yet the river is not itself doing anything. It's the pull of gravity that causes the river to flow. It's the law of gravity. That's why there's movement in the river. That's why rivers flow to the ocean. That's why there's tides in the ocean. Water flows because of gravity. But yet, what is gravity doing? Gravity isn't doing anything either. Gravity is just being itself. So really, when you stand on the bank of a river and watch it flow, nothing is happening. There is no striving for that to happen, and yet all of nature is doing exactly what it's meant to be doing, accomplishing everything it's meant to be accomplishing without any effort. Gravity's not doing anything. The water in the river is not doing anything. And yet there is action, there is accomplishment, if you'd like to call it that. So when we look at nature, we see these amazing examples of not needing to attach ourselves to what we do, to attach ourselves to accomplishment and to use it as sort of building blocks that we can step up on and declare to the world who we are. There is action and there is creation as an outflow of what something already is. So we seem quite isolated in this concept of hustling and accomplishing and creating labels and sticking them on ourselves to let the world know who we are. Animals don't do that. Nature, trees, mountains, lakes, rivers, they don't do that. So why is it that we're doing that? Is that what we're meant to be doing? This idea of putting ourselves, the best version of ourselves out there on the internet and seeing how many people like it, seeing how many people double tap that picture, seeing how many people leave us a comment to let us know that they approve of what we've accomplished. It seems to me, this is my humble opinion, this is where I'm at in my journey, and I want you to hold on to your power to disagree and to come up with your own thought on this. I'm not telling you what to think here. This is what I've arrived at in my own journey. If we can disconnect from this idea of evaluating ourselves, compartmentalizing and appraising ourselves based on our actions and our behaviors and accomplishments, if we can detach from those accomplishments and those things we hold on to, we can discover who we really are beyond those things. Because if tomorrow everything that I've done was stripped away, this YouTube channel was eliminated, my books were eliminated, my computer was eliminated, all my camera gear was eliminated, I would still be who I am. And I know that seems very, very, very simple, but it's profound when you think about it. Think about something you've done in your life, maybe something you've accomplished or things you've done. If all those things were gone, that hobby, that job, those things you've earned or done, if all of that was gone, you would still be here. So what is the I? Who is the I that you are? You are beyond those things. There is something inside of you that stands outside of all of those things. Those things are just an outpouring of who you already are. How this relates to minimalism and mindfulness, in my opinion, is minimalism of thought. Sometimes we spend so much time in the initial beginning of this journey cleaning out our closets and cleaning out our cabinets and getting rid of all of our clothes and stuff. And we need to be cleaning out our minds, because in our minds we are holding on to so many things that we could be letting go of, that would set us free if we could just release our grasp on them. If we can detach from hustle culture, if we can detach from this idea that what we do and how much we can produce, same root word as product, I believe. What makes products? Machines. We are not machines. We are human beings. We are meant to be. And if art and creativity and education and work and beautiful things flow out of that, that's beautiful. But that's just part of being. When we look at it in the opposite way, when we take our stand on accomplishment first, and the more we can accomplish, the more we can do, the more we can produce, that will make us who we are. Then when that foundation shifts, we feel as if we have completely lost identity. See, if I placed all my hope and set all my store by being a writer, if anything happened to my books, or if I decided not to write, I would feel as if I had lost who I was. So those are shifting sands. But if I stand on this rock of the I that I am stands outside of all of that, and from that place of being, I can create, and that's great. That's awesome. But I'm not evaluating myself based on my creations. I'm not evaluating myself based on how much I am able to produce. See, I think it's important as we begin looking at inviting concepts and things into our lives, we need to evaluate also what ideas of ourselves are we inviting into our lives, and what ideas need to be let go of. How are we relating to ourselves? What kind of relationship do we have with ourselves? There's so much out there of, counseling and things you can read about how to improve your relationship with others. But what about improving our relationship with ourselves and who we really are, how we're talking to ourselves, how we're looking at ourselves? And I fall into this trap. I don't want you to think for a minute that I've got this all right, because I haven't got it straight either in my mind. I am still trying to incorporate each of these concepts into my life every day, reminding myself each morning, I am not what I produce. I am outside of that, and who I am when I become blissfully aware of who I really am, and this sense of love for myself, that's where my best creations flow from. From this place of detaching completely from what I do. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times when we feel down on ourselves or disappointed in ourselves, it's because, oh, I didn't accomplish this. I didn't produce enough. I didn't get enough done. There's nothing wrong with getting things done, but we should not be evaluating ourselves based on how much we're able to get done, how much we're able to produce, how many phone calls we're able to take, or emails we're able to answer, or videos we're able to make. We are so much more loved, so much more valued, so much more valuable than we could possibly imagine. And these are a lot of concepts I explore actually in my series, The Blood Race. So much of that book came from these thoughts of being powerful, loved beings that are powerful beyond these constructs we create for ourselves. What if we freed ourselves from those? I think it's important to consider these things. You know, I think it helps us see that we should be loving ourselves more and releasing ourselves from this sort of rat race lifestyle. And I'm not just talking about 9-to-5 jobs. I'm completely not talking about jobs here. I'm talking about what we create in our own heads. I'm talking about the confines of our own mind. If we can lift those restrictions and we can begin to see ourselves outside of a to-do list, outside of the things that we carry around on a resume, those are all fine things. Those are all things that can be respected and revered in their proper place. But we actually begin to abuse those things and abuse ourselves when we allow them to cross over into the space of who we are, into the space of identity. If we can begin to see who we are outside of that. And I don't have a specific answer to give. I have a question to ask. You know, it's not about telling you to think a certain way. It's about prompting you to question yourself, you know, ask those questions for yourself and see where they take you, because I truly believe that as we begin to seek, we will find. I think that's very, very true. And I think that we all have unique journeys, and I think we're headed in a good direction when we begin to ask ourselves these things. So that was all I really wanted to talk about today. I wanted to clarify what I meant by hustle culture, because I didn't want it to be confused with simply doing things. I'm not talking about not doing anything. I certainly am doing quite a few things myself each day, and I think action is wonderful when it's coming from a place of empowerment and love. So I wanted to clarify that. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you enjoyed a cup of tea with me. I appreciate you joining me here today, my friend. If you liked this video, it always means a lot when you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, because that way you'll be notified when I upload another video like this. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your feedback down in the comment section, and I love hearing about your own unique journey and practice. So thank you for sharing that with me. From my heart to yours, I wish you joy in your journey. Namaste.